Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope you all are doing well today. Elliot here. Welcome back to The Fragrance Well. So today we're going to discuss a topic that I would be willing to bet most of you guys have some experience with, and that is I love these now, but I would have hated them when I first got into fragrances or first started collecting. I'm going to talk about that and as it pertains to me today. The thing I used to not like in fragrances is I wasn't really a big fan of freshy fragrances. I wanted the tobacco and the spicy and the dark woody, the heavier scents, the leathery scents. And by the way, I still love those, and those are still my preferred scents. But now I do have a deep appreciation for fresher fragrances, fragrances that feature citrus, have fresher accords. Now, let me be clear, that doesn't mean I didn't like any fragrances that had these. There certainly were exceptions to the rule, but let's just say I wasn't really looking for these fragrances. If a fragrance was announced and had this, I wasn't really excited about it, didn't really want to check it out. If a fragrance had these elements and that it was popular because of those elements, I kind of wrote it off for the most part, but that did change over time as I grew to have an appreciation for fresher fragrances, fragrances with citrus, and part of that was due to me really getting exposed to, let's just say, higher quality versions of those fragrances. That's what gave me the appreciation for them. So you could say I'm still not necessarily a fan of cheaper iterations of those fragrances. So for the most part, the fragrances on this list are fragrances that fall into that category. There are 1 to 2 exceptions, but I'll go over them as I come up to them on the list. So let's go ahead and get it started. But before we do, as always, please remember to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and please hit that bell icon and enable notifications so you can be notified when I upload new videos. Let's get into it. All right, first one's coming from the house of Mason Francis Kirkjohn, and it's going to be Aqua Celestia Forte. Mason Francis Kirkjohn, Aqua Celestia Forte. Now, as you can see, there's a major dent in this bottle. That is because this is actually my wife's fragrances. This is one of the first fragrances she bought when I actually started a collection. She has like a little mini collection herself, and this is one of the first ones she got. So as you can see, she's put plenty of wear in this. Now, I have worn this myself, but it's mostly her wearing. So that's why the dent is here. So let's just be clear. But that being said, at the time, let's just say I didn't hate this fragrance. I actually did like the way it smelled, but I didn't necessarily want to wear it myself. Now I have a much deeper appreciation for this fragrance. And frankly, it's one of the best summertime fragrances in the overall cabinet, and let's just say in the whole house. This has lime-like citrus in it and some nice florals that mix with that lime very nicely. It has a kind of fresh, clean, somewhat laundry, lime-like laundry, fresh, clean smell. There's musk in this. There's some black currant, so it has a tartness to it as well. This fragrance is an amazing, fresh fragrance, great for the summertime, last all day long, compliment getter fragrance. My wife definitely has plenty of stories with it. But when I first started collecting, I would have wanted nothing to do with this scent. Now, as I said, I did like the way it smelled, but because there was definitely something different from this, from your typical, let's just say, designer freshy fragrance. But I just wasn't interested in wearing fresh fragrances at the time. And I'm talking about when I first started collecting, not when I first started my channel. But now, great appreciation for this fragrance. This is one of the best in the MFK line, in my opinion. Once again, from the house of Mason Francis Kirkjohn, this is Aqua Celestia Forte. All right, next one's coming from the house of Louis Vuitton. We have got Imagination. Oop, lost focus there. Louis Vuitton Imagination. Now this one should be a shocker. I've obviously been talking this one up quite a bit since I got it. And obviously this is one of the most popular fragrances on the market. Easily the most popular from the house of Louis Vuitton. But again, this is considered a freshie. You know, you have the bergamot in here, the black tea, dash of neroli in there, giving the fresh, clean feel that this fragrance has. Some cinnamon, lots of ambroxan. I absolutely love this scent today. I wouldn't have cared for it when I first started collecting. I'm not gonna say I just would have hated it, but I would have been like, give me Ombre Numade, forget everything else. Now, ironically, I believe this fragrance actually was released the year I started collecting, 2021. But I never got my nose on this really in a good way until last year, and then when I sampled it on skin this year is when I ultimately decided to go ahead and grab this. So it had been out a while before I really knew what this scent was, and by then I was definitely had developed an appreciation for fresher fragrances. So I can't say honestly how I would have felt about it if I had smelled it back in 2021. Let's just say I did like it. It wouldn't have mattered. I would have been all about Ombre Numade because that's really the only type of fragrance that I was really interested in at the time. Now, give me this all day long, every day. Once again, from the house of Louis Vuitton, this is Imagination. Next one's coming from the house of Roja Parfums, and it's gonna be Isola Blu. Roja Parfums, Isola Blu. Now, if you've been watching my channel for the last few months, you already know how I feel about this scent. It's easily one of my top summertime citrus fragrances in my entire cabinet, and I absolutely love this stuff. But I can definitely tell you that I would not have really cared to purchase this, at least when I first started collecting, or at least I don't think I would. Honestly, I don't really know for sure. I didn't smell it back then, even though this was formerly oligarch and this DNA in general did exist. By the time I started collecting, when I first actually got my nose on Roja fragrances, this one, or should I say oligarch, was not one of them. So, I can't say honestly how I would have felt about it, but I do know this much. Like Creation E and scents like that, I would have been like, yeah, I want that well before I would have gotten this one. That has since changed, but I love the citrus in this, mixing with the lavender and the thyme and the dried woods and the slight musky accords. This fragrance is a perfect summer scent first and foremost, and just a good, gentlemanly, classy, citrus-based fragrance that I just can't get enough of nowadays. Once again, from the house of Roja Parfums, we have got Isola Blu. Next up, from the house of Nishane, we have got Wulong Cha. Nishane Wulong Cha. Now, as you guys know, or if you've been watching my channel for a while, one of my favorites in my entire collection is actually Nishane Hasavat. Well, that one does definitely have a lot of fresh elements and citrus in it, but I would say that one is probably one of the exceptions. I've had that fragrance a while. I can't remember exactly when I got it, but it was definitely within, like, let's just say the first half of my collection journey. So maybe this one would have been the case, but I got this one well after I had Hasavat. So I'm gonna say from the onset of me starting a collection, knowing I did not care for fresher fragrances, I probably wouldn't have liked this, but this is a masterpiece as far as I'm concerned. Orange-like citrus with beautiful tea accords and musk, a little bit of fig to add this slightly creamy element to it. It is awesome. Oolong tea, by the way, is a tea in this one. And this is a great summer fragrance, a great fresh fragrance. And I love it now, but I definitely wouldn't have loved it when I first started collecting. Once again, from the house of Nishane, this is Wulong Cha. All right, so for the next one, we're gonna move slightly away from the freshy fragrance category. This is gonna be from the house of Mansera. This is Hindu Kush. Mansera Hindu Kush. All right, so this is a little bit of a different take on this subject matter. I actually got my nose on Hindu Kush relatively early in my fragrance journey because I bought a Mansera Discovery Kit. Hindu Kush was in that Discovery Kit. I liked the scent, but I had this kind of confusion about it. I'm like, where would I wear this? I honestly don't have a clue. And that was because I didn't understand a fragrance like this. I didn't know what to do with it. But now I'm like, I can almost pretty much wear this anywhere. I don't know why I didn't see that then. And also, my nose has developed a lot since that point. So, I kind of pick out the elements that I appreciate about this scent now. It's not all about the cannabis in this one. There's a green element that's more of the cannabis feel that this fragrance has. It has tartness by way of black currant, a little bit of a fruity tartness to it. There's a smoky, woody aspect to it, a smoky green aspect to it. It's really a great fragrance. And so nowadays, I'm like, oh, I could really wear this for anything. I don't know why I didn't see that then, but at the time, it wasn't so much that I wouldn't appreciate a scent like this. I more so just didn't understand it. But these are things that anybody, I'm pretty sure all you guys can attest to this. Certain fragrance styles, certain fragrance DNAs, it just kind of takes time for you to really understand what you can like about it or what you would do with it. Once again, from the house of Mansera, this is Hindu Kush. Next one's coming from the house of Xerjoff. It's gonna be Neo. Xerjoff Neo. Now, this one is fresh and green, has that very nice citric bergamot in the opening, kind of a tart, lemon, limey, zesty kind of feel. Fresh green accords in here, nice dry woods, a little bit of a smoky aspect, a little bit of neroli in there, giving a slight soapy feel to it. I actually did like this scent when I first got my nose on it. Now that was like maybe a year and a half into my collection journey, and I actually learned about this one pretty early on, and I wanted to smell it because I'll just tell you right now, Gent Sense is who I learned about this fragrance from, and he was talking about how he really loves the fresh citrus opening, and it's one of the best ones he's ever gotten his nose on at the time. And I wanted to check it out just because of that alone, because I knew I didn't really care for that many citrus fragrances, but I figured, hey, maybe this one might change my mind. I'm not gonna necessarily credit this one as being the one that did change my mind, but it is one of those citrus fragrances that I got my nose on before I really started purchasing them that made me think, you know what, there is something to higher quality citrus in fragrances that I think I can learn to appreciate. Once again, from the House of Xerjoff, this is Neo. All right, we got a second one from the House of Xerjoff. This one has a fresh element to it, but it's more about the sweetness with this one. This is gonna be Erba Pura. Xerjoff, Erba Pura. I could actually make a second video around this topic talking about sweet fragrances. I really didn't care for like overly sweet fragrances either when I first started collecting. But I wouldn't say necessarily this fragrance changed my mind, but other fragrances with what I would consider to be better quality sweetness overall, or at least a quality that I appreciate more, helped me change my mind. So honestly, when I first got my nose on this fragrance, I was like, I don't know if I would really want to buy that one. Now, my wife really liked it right off the bat. I kind of bought this one for her, but I have learned to appreciate fragrances like this more. So this one has very nice citrus off the top and just this kind of fruity accord. Just think of bouquet of all kind of fruits, tart fruits, tropical fruits, fresh fruits, sweet fruit. It's kind of all rolled into one, and lots of vanilla, slight boozy edge to it. At least that's just kind of how I experience it. That's what this fragrance is. I'm pretty sure many of you are familiar with it. I wouldn't call this a love. It's not a love for me, but I do like this scent, and I can definitely appreciate what it does in the heat, first and foremost. Now that I have learned to appreciate, you know, not necessarily freshness with this one, but sweetness in fragrances, because I understand there's levels to it, I don't mind this scent as much now. Once again, from the House of Xerjoff, this is Erba Pura. All right, and last but not least, from the House of Day 3 Fragrances, this is Bani. Day 3 Fragrances, Bani. Now, out of my Day 3 fragrances that I have, I mean, this is probably my favorite one so far, and that's saying something considering the fact that, yeah, when I first started collecting, I probably would not have cared for this at all. It probably would not have been one that I had bought first. I think the first one I got was La Tacita de Cafe, then I got this one. Out of the 4 I have, this might have been the last one I had bought back in the day, if Day 3 Fragrances was a house at the time. This is mango, juicy mango, mixing with also green mango, a little bit more green than it is juicy in my opinion. Not overly sweet, but there is sugary accords to this. It's quite fresh, has a floral aspect, kind of has a little bit of a beachiness to it, but it doesn't really smell like you're on the beach. Kind of smells like you're near the beach. For me, this is a quintessential summertime fragrance. It's one of my favorite summer fragrances within my cabinet, and that is a strong statement considering the fact that when I first started collecting, I probably would not have really cared for this. But I'm glad I now have that appreciation for fragrances like that, because Day 3 Fragrances, I think, do fragrances like this very, very well. I do have a sample of the new one, Escandalo, and I think I'm gonna pick that one up as well. Once again, from the House of Day 3 Fragrances, this is Bani. Alright guys, that is going to do it for this video. Let me know down in the comments below if you have also experienced this, where there is a subset of fragrances you wanted nothing to do with when you first started collecting, but now you have got to have that subset in your collection at all times. Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say. Thanks again for watching all the way into the end. I really do appreciate you all. Please remember to be well and smell well, and I will see you in the next episode of The Fragrance Well. Have a good one.